In this video, we're going to take a closer look at graphing. So by the end of this video, you will be able to graph the independent and dependent variable for any experimental data. So let's dive right in. So let's go back and look at our example here. We have how does the volume of water, remember this is our independent variable or what we are changing, affect the height of plant growth. So our dependent variable is what we are measuring. Okay. So once we've collected a set of data for this experiment, one way that we can display it is through a graph. So to set up our graph, the first thing we want to do is decide which axis the independent variable goes on and which one the dependent variable goes on. By default, always your independent variable is on your x-axis. Okay, so this is what you are changing. So in our example here, on the x-axis, the volume of water is what we are changing. So we're going to write volume of water as our axis label. And then we're also going to put the units down here in milliliters. Along the y-axis, so our y-axis is where we put our dependent variable. And so this is what we are measuring. And for this experiment, we had the height of plant growth. And that is in centimeters. So you always want to include the label plus the units in brackets. Now, in order to fill up our graph, we need to first take a look at our data set. So if we had, for example, for the volumes, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then say for the centimeters, the plant growth, we had 2, 3, 6, 9, and 11. Then for each of the axes, you would want to take a look at, well, how big is your data set? So this goes from a volume of 1 all the way up to a volume of 5. And then you'd want to divide up all of your different little grids in order to divide that axis into even spacings and also making the most use of the space. So if we kind of count over, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 spaces in our graph. And we want 5. So if we go up by 3s, that's 15. So if we go up by 4s, that's 20. So I think every 4 lines is a good way for us to divide this up. So we'd have 0, and then we'd have 1 here. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'd have 2 here, 3, and then 4, and 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 4, and that's 5. Okay, so you can see that takes up a good majority of the space. And then we want to do and go and look at the same on our height axis. So that's 11. I'm going to assume there's probably about 22 here as well, just to keep this short. So if we go up by these by 2 and making every 2 1, so we'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, and that's perfect. 11. So we did have 22 there. Whew, good job. Okay. Now from here, what we want to do is graph each of the sets of data points. So we're going to go volume of 1 and centimeters of 2. And so we're going to just draw a nice big dot for that data point. Then we do the same for 2 and 3. And then 3 and let's see, 6 is here. And then 4 goes with 9. And then 5 and 11. Okay. So now once we've got this, we want to also take a look and go, okay, is a line or a curve best going to represent the average trend that we're seeing in our data? I think in this case, a nice straight line would represent this. And so what we want to do is we want to draw a line of best fit. And so a line of best fit is really just going to represent the data. So let's see, I think it's probably about here. And you would take a ruler and draw that, okay? I don't have a ruler with me right now to do this on the video, but you would want to use a ruler. Now you'll notice it doesn't go through every single data point, right? It's missing some of them. Some of them are further away, so this is something we might call an outlier because it's much further away from the trend line, and then other ones are lying right on it here. Okay, the other option is you could draw a curve of best fit. So if a curve fits your data, you can try drawing that instead. One other thing to note, these data points are only averages. Okay, we do not graph every single trial. We only graph averages. And then the last thing you would want to include with a graph, similar to a data table, is a descriptive title. So you might say something like, how does the volume of water impact the height of plant growth? And maybe add in a little bit extra in there just to kind of describe the picture that you're seeing from your graph. All right, then, that's it for this video. Let's move on to our next task.